Page 366. Without suitable teachers, however, the earth human beings will never become conscious of this truth, because they have buried themselves too deeply in their intellect-based thinking and rationality-based thinking. Therefore, teachers must appear, prophets, who instruct the earth human being in the truth and bring them knowledge, wisdom, and love. Prophets who are great enough to fulfill their task and who have attained a high level of wisdom in the course of their lives. Prophets who themselves, in innumerable former lives, were subject to hardship, misery, death, and ruin, erroneous assumptions, and irrational teachings, and who had to work their way up from this to the wisdom and truth, to knowledgeness and love. Against unknowledgeness, delusional guidance, and irrational teachings, one can only tackle them with very great patience. But everything human has its limits, so also the patience of the prophets. No earth human being should be surprised, therefore, when they now and then seethe in rage. It is, however, no rage of the hatred or the maliciousness, but rather a rage of the mightlessness against the earth human irrationality. And this rage is only able to arise through boundless love, bearing within itself love and sorrow for the uncomprehending ones. Through this rage they endeavor to make the truths comprehensible to the earth human beings, and to show them the source of the wisdom from which everything has come out of. Unfortunately, the earth human being searched for the love and wisdom, the life, knowledge, and the truth in his or her heart already for thousands of years, driven to this by the irrational teachings of the religions which have raised the heart to the thinking apparatus and feeling apparatus. A malicious, irrational teaching which does not find its equal so readily, but the heart is only a vital organ for the preservation of the material body. The heart is not capable of thinking and development of feelings, etc. It solely has an organic function. No heart of any life form is able to develop or to perceive in a fine, fluidal wise love, truth, knowledge, or wisdom. The decisive part in this respect is, and always remains, the brain in connection with the spirit. Through the brain and its thinking form, knowledge, wisdom, and truth are created, recognized, and registered. And it is solely through the brain and its thinking form that love or hatred is created, which, as corresponding impulses, are then worked into the feeling center, and from there spread out as feeling impulsations. The feeling center, however, does not form the heart, because it is only influenced according to the form of the feelings in its function. The feeling center is located at different places in the body according to the life form. For the earth human being, it is located precisely in the middle of the chest and spreads out upwards in a radial form at hand's width, where, through very distinct laying on of hands and stroking motions in a distinct form, corresponding feelings can be evoked, altered, or transformed. In particular, depressions and anxieties can be neutralized through this. Love power is therefore created through the thinking, and then spreads out via the feeling center of the body and the environment. Love, however, at the same time means nourishment for the spirit, as well as for the consciousness and for the life itself. In accordance with the law, the earth human being must therefore act in love if he or she wants to do justice to the life and his or her mission. Love can, however, only come into being through knowledge, truth, and wisdom, through which it develops into the universal love and becomes absolutely permanent. This represents a creational law, which the earth human being, however, has from time immemorial acted contrary to and must accept hardship and misery. Serving as an example of this to the earth human beings is that which they usually refer to as love between man and woman. In the unknowledge of the true knowledge and the truth, the earth human being allows him or herself to be misled by confused thought forms into confusing feeling creations, which he or she then defines as love. Since these feeling impulsations are based on false preconditions, on unclear and confusion-arousing thoughts, they must inevitably likewise be unclear and confused. Feeling impulsations created in such a manner, however, are subject to a great instability, wavering, and fickle. These confused feelings, which are deemed to be love by the earth human beings, therefore in truth do not represent true love, but rather an uncontrollable self-deception, which gets very badly out of control of the good human nature, according to the thinking form and character of the individual earth human being. This confused Ausartung contains all the reasons for the further false feelings or feeling impulsations arising from the preceding false thinking form. Fully unstable in itself, these unreal feeling impulsations are subject to a continuous change, so this belief-based love is able to transform into hatred and many other and different manifestations. With the earth human beings, this is also the reason why man and woman are bound together by these confused thinking forms in a marriage bond, in order to then lead years of their lives in the exertion of constant fights, which is called quarrel, etc. These fights then very often get quite maliciously very badly out of control of the good human nature, in which case suppression, exploitation, and enslavement come to the fore, whereby, however, physical acts of Gewalt also take up a considerable share, which often even get very badly out of control of the good human nature into the destruction of the corporeal life. The weakest form of dissolution of these marital fights is known by the earth human being as the ending of the locked marriage bond. According to their thinking form, they call this a divorce of the marital parties and a dissolution of the marriage bond, therefore a destruction of the life bond entered into. For the earth human being, what is to be explained next with regard to love and marriage is of importance, because if he or she wants to live according to the truth of the creational laws and be comprehending, this is of the highest significance to him or her, because the finding, recognition, and following of the knowledge, the truth, wisdom, and love do not begin on a large scale, but rather in the smallest and in the individual being. True love arises from a secure knowledge in recognition of a Gemüt-based spiritual, fine-sensitive feeling, through which it becomes a wisdom. Gemüt means spiritual counterpart to the human psyche. In itself it holds a clear and in the knowledge right feelings, and spiritual, fine-sensitive feelings, in honest recognition and use. This means that it represents an absolute certainty and is never changeable. Once it has found the level of its existence, it can no longer be torn out by any powers at all. True love, however, also means secure comprehension, created from out of the knowledge, in cognition of a spiritual, fine-sensitive feeling, and the recognition of creational recommendations and laws. In the earth human being, this comprehension relates to the understanding of all creational regulation and to the understanding of his or her own inner nature and his or her feelings, as well as to the inner nature and the feelings of their fellow human beings. However, where this understanding is inadequate, or does not exist at all, then no love is able to arise. Quite the contrary. Out of the lack of this understanding, through corresponding thought forms, confusions and irrationalities develop, which simulate opinion-based feelings to the earth human being, that is, feelings which are erroneous feelings, and therefore cannot find any permanence. True love is never subject to a change, therefore it can also never be reworked into hatred or other similar factors. So if the earth human being therefore makes an effort for the honest and true love, he or she only then unites as man and woman when he or she knows the certainty of the love as knowledge. Through this, the badness of the marital fights and separations is eliminated, for where there prevails pure true love, there is no nourishment for strife and discord. This rests in a law of the creation, which has also been laid down by it as brazen regulation in the laws of the nature and forms a distinct part of the guaranteeing of life. So if the earth human being wants to recognize and follow this or other laws of the creation, then he or she can research them in the nature and find them there. When the earth human being lives according to the laws of the nature, then he or she goes the way of the recognition and the following of creational laws and recommendations. Thereby, however, the conventional natural sciences and natural philosophies must not be resorted to, because these deviate in unoverlookable measures from the way of the truth. Natural sciences and natural philosophies only then find consonance with the truth when they are created, recognized, and brought to use in purely spiritual form. The truth of the love must be recognized and followed by the earth human beings. Only short-sighted ones do not act accordingly. And precisely these are the ones who impose on their fellow human beings limited body of thoughts in every respect, and thereby constantly bring into life new false scientific worldviews, denominations, ill formation of states, and unhealthy political parties. Even though for a long time on the earth, ever new unification endeavors have been undertaken, these must remain wishful constructs for so long until the short-sightedness of the earth human beings is eliminated. A prerequisite for the realization of the wishful constructs is the recognition and acknowledgement of the truth and the love, because only they alone are able to enable the earth peoples amongst each other and the individual earth human beings amongst themselves to become a loving and peaceful community being. But as long as the earth human being does not integrate him or herself into the creational regulation and into the following of its laws and recommendations, for so long is a fundamental developmental change for the better in all respects impossible to think of. That must be clear to the earth human being. The earth human being's growing conscious awareness in the creational spirit is the secret of the success, carried by truth and love and the unending power of the creation itself in all eternities.